Hello everyone and welcome. Simon here from the Wales of Wall Street. Hope you're all doing fantastic well. Today we're going to look at a blockchain technology here called Gochain, which is G-O on exchange, which we will go on to in a moment's time. Before we do, just want to do a quick reminder. Please like this video if you find it informative, subscribe to the channel if you've not done so already, and make sure you press that bell button so you get notifications of any videos that we do, so you get notified when they do get to you. So let's go straight into this one here. So I find this quite interesting, okay, because I actually got a Gochain a few months back, around about maybe March time or so. And the reason I got it was because I wanted to move my OMI tokens, so Komi tokens, from the exchange, which I think was Forex, if I can remember correctly, across to directly to my Mu wallet, so my Ethereum wallet. Now, as you know, Ethereum can be quite expensive in terms of fees and everything, but they allowed me to use Gochain as the platform to move the OMI tokens across. And the only reason I found that out was because I went on to Reddit, and someone had kindly put a note on there for many people to how to do it. And I do recommend Reddit for stuff like that. It's really cool. Just make sure you follow the procedures and everything quickly on anything that you're looking at on there. Sorry, not quickly, but just make sure you read them thoroughly. And so that was that. And so I worked out how to do that. I thought, my Ethereum wallet's asking for these fees. I can't remember what these kind of gas fees were called, like Worth or something. I can't remember. But the important thing is, I wasn't anticipating the speed of this. So by the time I closed the tab down, when it said that the transaction had been completed from the Bitforex site, literally I changed tabs to the Ethereum wallet and it was there. The OMI tokens were there within probably about 2-3 seconds, I would say, maybe a tiny bit longer, but literally sent from going one tab to the other. I couldn't believe it, and I was like, well, hang on a minute, I've still got these Go tokens left as well. And it's like, it hardly used any fee whatsoever from Gochain. I was absolutely amazed by it. And despite that, I never really kind of sort of followed on through to getting more Gochain, or sort of looking into what it kind of actually was. I knew it was a blockchain, I knew it was about transactions and this, that, and the other, but that is why we're here today, because actually it came back to my attention earlier, because I obviously have like coin market cap and watch lists and things, and there was a bit of a rise in the last 24 hours or so. So I was like, Gochain, what are they up to these days? And they've changed a few of the philosophies on the website and everything over the last few months. And that's what we're going to dive into today. So hopefully that gives you a bit of background why I'm looking at Gochain, and actually why I accumulated even more of it today. I could have done it a couple of months ago when it was perhaps 1 cent, but it's currently trading around 3.7 cents, which we'll go on to in a moment's time. But let's do an intro to this awesome project. So what is this about? Well, it's basically anticipating that this is greener, cheaper, faster than the majority of blockchains out there that we all know and love. Like for example, I think pretty much everything is faster and cheaper than Bitcoin, of course. But it was the founding blockchain. If you do history research, you'll see Bitcoin was the pioneer. Ethereum followed shortly after, and then we've got a multitude of chains. Now, Gochain is very much run on something called proof of reputation. So it's all about reputations. They will only work with companies that are basically essentially kind of, I would say, worried that if they were to do any kind of like fraudulent activity or something out of the ordinary to go against Gochain, based on the reputation of brand or finance consequences, that is where the proof of reputation comes in. So they deem it quite very secure, very private, and especially because of that sort of economy of tokenomics and proof of reputation, they feel that it's also greener and faster. Well, the proof here is in the pudding, as they say. And before we go into the bits and pieces about that, so these guys are basically kind of bridging Ethereum. So they call it 100% Ethereum compatible. So this means that anything kind of ETH related can be transferred across using the Gochain to various exchanges or various wallets. And it's quite interesting how that occurs. And of course here, so Gochain is run by trusted companies, non-profit organizations, universities all over the world. So it's very sustainable and very kind of economic in the way that it does things. And this particular part here is quite interesting. So as I've mentioned earlier with my OMI tokens, my Ether wallet, I couldn't believe it. So the fee was next to nothing and the transaction was so fast. So let's compare them right now. So on the screen, as you can see, just a few top line bits here. We've got Gochain on the left here, of course, Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, which you'll notice as BSC usually, Polkadot and Cardano. So absolute giants there. Transactions per second, they perceive themselves to be able to do 1,300 per second versus all of these current situations. And I'm sure obviously as chains keep developing with, obviously that's why we have staking, that's why we have protocol upgrades and things like that. I'm sure all of these will get better as time goes on. The next part here is the average fee per transaction. So this is probably where my comment from earlier comes in. 0.01. So basically like around about 1 cent as an average term of a transactional fee. I have a feeling this Ethereum one might be slightly out of date, but I do think it's relatively on par with still, even after the 2.0 upgrades, being quite expensive. And it's matching essentially Binance Smart Chain, which is again an absolute phenomenal chain ecosystem. And it's still far superior to even the big names like Polkadot and Cardano. Transactions latency, so in terms of how fast a transaction can go in, I mean, look at this, like 5 minutes for Ethereum, and 75 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 minutes. It's way ahead. I would actually, to be fair, like to compare this to maybe like XDC or something, because I think they're probably relatively close to each other. Number of validators, so this is where I do have questions, because Cardano obviously massive in terms of how it works with the validation, the delegation, proof of staking, in comparison to proof of work where Bitcoin used, and these guys are using proof of reputation. So there's an argument to say that this number's low for a reason, in a sense that they're relying on that reputational aspect to not need validators. So there's less work to be done, less processing power, less management, admin, people power, etc., machine power. So that's where the green element comes in. But all the others here, of course, Ethereum, absolute gigantic platform. Those that have done their history work on that as well. So Ethereum, way back in the day, when it hard forked, you had Ethereum Classic. So some of the original employees stayed with Ethereum Classic, while Ethereum, as we know it today, or Ether, moved forward into the world that we know now. And that's where they are. So there's a lot of history with Ethereum. It's one of the oldest blockchains. Even now, it's crazy. We think of them so old. They're really still quite young, which is why I mentioned about everything still having plenty of time to improve things. Against BSC, it's very similar. So they work kind of similarly to that aspect as well, which I find quite interesting. So I've just realised that I'm pointing at screens, you can't see it. And then, of course, total transactions to date. So 25 million already. Of course, it's not going to be near Ethereum yet. There's a lot of projects on Ethereum, so that's understandable. But it's doing really well, considering. So I think one of the downfalls at the moment is perhaps the lack of marketing, the lack of awareness. And there's kind of a good and a bad argument to that, because it's good in the sense that if you don't know much about this project, you want to do some research. Of course, you've got a bit of time because of the pricing of the token itself. I mean, the market cap's at 40 million, which I think is quite a healthy number considering the price that it's at, which we'll, like I said, we'll move on to in a moment. But I do think that this chain is so under the radar, and I'm not expecting massive gains this year. I mean, we had an all-time high of I think 10 cents perhaps last year, March 2020, 11 cents 0.65, so pretty much 11.6. So there's plenty of movement left in this run this year, hopefully, but for the future, I think this proof of reputation is interesting. I will need to do a bit more work into this to sort of really recognize its viability. I sometimes think like the proof of reputation, I kind of get what they're trying to do. It depends on the reputation of the participant, or what they call as like a block signer. So very much around, they could face significant finance or brand consequences if there's any kind of like foul play or any manipulation or anything like that against Gochain. So I kind of understand that, but it's kind of like is that a scapegoat for not having to do anything? But then equally they've got the green element out of it, so it swings and roundabouts. But here's a couple of key pointers as well, just from their website. Obviously we've covered the speed, we've covered very much the interoperability with Ethereum. We'll go on to a bit of the chain swap stuff in a second. Compatibility, of course, but scalability, I understand that. Of course, it's helping like developers and other people that want to use Gochain to be able to scale up their businesses and partnerships a lot faster and quicker. And this development tool is obviously fantastic as well. And what I think is key here is the ability to keep upgrading the smart contract elements as they go along. So let's just go into a couple of these bits and pieces here. So the Go token, which you can find on the exchanges, Binance, Qcoin, there may be different pairings. I think one or two of them do have USDT, but I think majority are Ethereum or Bitcoin at this stage. So do bear that in mind. So faster, less cost, and more scalable than other digital assets. So we kind of get that aspect. Lack of fees, quick transaction times, etc. Blah blah. And of course, yes, purchasing on the exchange, but you can also store them on digital wallet as well. Or I have mine on the Mu wallet actually, which is what I needed to do for the Ethereum. So in terms of exchanges, here we go. This is good. There's not many, to be fair, there's not many crypto assets out there that list what exchanges they're on. You have to kind of like do a bit of deep diving here. So I've mentioned Binance, Qcoin. Maybe it was Bittrex actually, not Bitforex that I got Omi. I have to double check that. So there's a good few on there that everyone knows and loves, of course. And you've got the various wallets that the wallet the token can be stored on. I did also use Trust Wallet for mine originally, and then I couldn't figure out Trust Wallet too much, so that's why I moved it over to me. So transactions fees protect the network. So obviously using those fees of getting burned, that's where I guess the tokenomics come in. Eventually, as the tokens keep dropping, obviously people buy them and then use them, and then they get burned from the gas fees, etc. Of course, but very much a lot of transactions going through per second. So for every minute of the attack, this would cost nearly 100,000 Go tokens. That's incredible. Okay, so you can already see where these transactions, if there's any attacks, they use the Go tokens to counteract that, which is quite phenomenal. I will look into how many we've got, how many are available as well, which would be quite interesting. So there's that bit as also a couple of other services that Gochain provides. So you've got GeoFS. It's kind of like Dropbox, but using the blockchain technology in terms of data capture, security, not being able to manipulate data and things like this, or no access, no hacking, etc. And very much affordable pricing. So that's quite good. Two cents per gigabyte per each month. That's very, very good pricing. I think that's quite good against the likes of Dropbox as well. So they've got this kind of thing going on, which is quite interesting as well. So obviously you can keep your items, your files very much secure. And then you've got things like transparency. So this is powered by Gochain. This is basically kind of like end-to-end visibility or management of supply chain. So anything and everything really, from a product aspect to a consumer's hands, being able to figure out, it's kind of like VeChain in that aspect of being able to use blockchain technology to automate and understand the supply chain mechanism of where you've bought this product, etc. And it also links together with this other aspect that they've got as well, which links kind of the customer's feedback and experience back into the system, and then therefore you get all the algorithms moving forward in the data analysis of who buys what, when, why, how, etc. So there's loads of cool things that can come out of this using essentially the Gochain as a governance tool. to prevent the fraud, manipulation, money laundering, all of these kind of things. And as I mentioned, the aftermarket aspect as well. So it's really, really cool stuff that they're building up on this platform and ecosystem. If you go to solutions, there's a bit of an aftermarket there. I think it's a new project, so there's not a lot of information on there, but I can see what they're trying to do. And then you've got ChainSwap, which is very much using Gochain element to swap various multiple different tokens, not just Ethereum and everything, but using Link, for example. So trying to avoid a lot of the gas fees and the speed reduction to do that. So do bear that in mind if you're potentially moving some ETH related projects across to wallets or exchanges in various different places. You might want to consider using Gochain as the bridge mechanism. So do check that out. It's really interesting. And then finally, the developer portal. So I like this because it's quite similar to one of my other favorite projects like bPro, where they're allowing people to essentially keep improving their own systems, their own projects using the Gochain blockchain. So it's very much around that Web3 aspect, coding. So here's a part about the tools resources. This is what I mentioned earlier. Upgradable smart contracts is absolutely fantastic. Decentralized identity work. So it's very much around huge security aspects. Again, going back to that reputation element. And we've already covered the Go file storage. But in terms of the upgradable smart contracts, it's not gigantic information on here, to be honest. But it's all about utilizing coding, utilizing development to keep improving this chain and smart contract technology and application as it is as well. So there's some really cool stuff around this, guys. I think it's kind of very undervalued in my opinion, and I think it's one of those ones that it's not like Polkadot, Solana, Cardano, all of these companies that are absolutely gigantic and they've got a lot of marketing behind them, a lot of talk behind them. But Gochain is like one of those ones in the background where you think like maybe in 5 years' time, this could be actually something quite big. And then all of a sudden everyone's talking about it as if it's a big surprise. So I just wanted to kind of bring the attention to it really, as to what they're about, what they do, what was my experience with it, because I think that's important to tell you guys like, okay, I'm not just talking about nonsense off their website stuff. I've actually used it by accident or certainly getting the benefit of it by accident, and it's now transpired to me a couple months down the line to actually think, hang on, should I actually buy some more of this just in case? Not necessarily, I'm not really chasing things for this year, particularly with Gochain, but certainly 4 or 5 years time, it really could be something quite interesting. The only other downfall I would have with Gochain is perhaps the lack of engagement on things like Twitter, perhaps. They could be a bit more active, but I guess in some ways that's kind of good because sometimes you get bombarded with nonsense and repetitive jargon. I think with these guys, I guess they are very much focused on specific and unique updates as they go along. So it's really cool here. Use of ICT such as cloud computing, artificial intelligence, and 5G, improve advanced disaster warning systems, boost game control in China. Blockchain should also be utilized for ensuring transparency, auditability, and data sharing. So very much sharing principles like Cardano and all of those chains have as well. So some really cool stuff going on. Do check their Twitter out. This I like. According to the one estimate from the World Economic Forum, reducing supply chain barriers to trade could increase global domestic product GDP by 5%. So there's a lot of talk. When you look at projects like VeChain, for example, around supply chain, there's a lot of other different ones as well that do something similar. Gochain are looking to kind of provide that aspect as well. And the link really that you should be looking at is with these kind of companies to China, and especially VeChain as well, is that supply chain mechanism. Because I think something stupid like over 85% of supply around the world comes from China, export from China to various destinations. So we're in a new kind of sustainable related mindset. We're worried about the climate, we're worried about the environment, we're worried about where our food, drink, sources of products, materials come from. I'm being more conscious personally about I started becoming a vegetarian last year, for example, because of loads of different aspects. Well, one of the main things was about emissions, and I was like, when I would go to my local butcher, and I was like, well, where's this meat coming from? And they're saying like Norwich. Well, I live like near Portsmouth, and I was like, that's ridiculous. That's not local. So you're kind of phased by it. So going off a bit of a tangent here, but that's what I'm saying. Things like Gochain have a responsibility and an application to improve this and make it more efficient and make the world a better place. And that's what I love about these kind of projects. That's why I'm excited about this potential project. So let's see how we develop. I'm rambling on here. I hope you're still with me. But let's go, guys, into the chart before I forget. And before we do that as well, please do, again, make sure that if you have found this informative that you please like and subscribe if you have not done so already. And then, guys, let's go into the chart. So, uno momento. And we've got a bit of interesting. I've lost my chart. There it is. Brilliant. Outstanding. Sorry. There we go. So let's go into this one, guys. So price wise, we've had a bit of an influx here around sort of March time in this year. So we managed to hit around the sort of 6 cents mark, but it wasn't since 2020, as I mentioned earlier, March 2020. I don't think my chart goes back that far, to be fair. That we hit the 11 cents all-time high. So we're currently flowing around 3.7 cents. There has been a bit of growth in the last 24 hours, not massive and not near what we had in the 19th of August. It's down on the week, it's down on 6 months. The 6 months is pretty generic, to be fair, across the majority of the market, as it entails as well that drop that we had around May, June time. But look at the month, look at the year. The year to date, 457% growth. Imagine if you were in this last year and you've gained 457% on your investment. Absolute congratulations to those that have done. Like I said, I did mine earlier this year. I don't even know what the price was. It was quite low. I bought literally a handful of them to just accommodate my OMI tokens. Now I'm very much ready for this one. Putting personal advice for myself to basically go and get some. But yeah, it's not financial advice for you guys. Obviously, you have your own strategies, your own portfolios, but this is one I would certainly have a look at and do your own research on to see what you can conclude yourselves. But I'm very much interested in how this will, push forward as time goes by. So in terms of the charts, I won't go into full detail. I think we'll do another video of that next week. I will also get some more information on the proof of reputation as well. But I just wanted to sort of point out a few things here. Let's just get a very quick overview on this. So I think we're channeling ourselves, to be fair, around a relatively interesting bracket here. Where's my line gone? Yeah, that'll do for now. So yeah, if we can just stabilize over this 0.35, 0.36 mark, we might start seeing a bit of a growth pattern obtained, but I think that's going to be a few days off. And the reason I think that is because the MACD has switched over on this particular chart and the gap is widening. So we're in a bearish momentum. So like I said, if we can keep that stability, we'll be positive and moving back up to test that 0.042 mark. But as this trend line here on the RSI is very much in the middle, it could go either way. So there is an anticipation that we might go and test this area again at 0.03. And for me, I have bought some now just because I think the price is very good. However, I would anticipate potentially for myself as well, because I'm not sort of buying in from a profit taking go at all. I would be anticipating some elements of buy areas around these possible opportunities around here. And arguably, to be fair, if we were to look back in history, you can see not too many tests of these lower regions as well. I'm not too fussed about this 2.7, but I do wonder. I'm just going to draw them in. We'll see how we go. But I'm interested to see if we get to this point here. But if we can stabilize, we'll definitely be pushing up here. And if we can get the bullish momentum as the market trend accelerates in the next month or so, we might start pushing up, maybe to smash that all-time high. But I do think in my mind that we could potentially get towards 16 cents by the end of this year, I would have thought. But some are suggesting from the research that I've done, 30 cents or above. So once we do a proper chart analysis in a few days' time, we can get to the bottom of what we think the price prediction will be, if you're interested. And yeah, we'll see what we can find out for you guys. So that kind of wraps this up. Please do let us know in the comments below if you are holding Go and what your anticipations are. If it's a new gem for you guys, please let me know as well. And if you find it boring, let me know, so we don't don't want to waste your time as well. But hopefully you found this really interesting, and I'm looking forward to doing some more update videos on this as time goes by. So we'll leave it there, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, we will hopefully see you and Go on the moon. We'll see you in the next one. Thank you.